What's going on, good people of the internet? It is time once again for Comics Unmasked, the podcast where a bunch of folks shoot the breeze and talk about comic books and such. Now, some of y'all have probably heard me on the podcast or in different live streams or in my own videos where I talk about Vault Comics. So many great books like Hollow Heart, Wasted Space, Barbaric, Big Rig, which was co-written by Post Malone. They are telling the stories that you need to be reading right now, especially this brand new title, Nectar, which is coming out at your local comic book shop this Wednesday, March 4th. And I had the pleasure of sitting down with the writer of Nectar, Jeremy Robinson, who is a New York Times bestseller. He is #1 on Audible in terms of audiobooks. Dude has been crushing it when it comes to the medium of novels and novellas, with almost 100 of them that he's released. And with having gotten his start in comic books, he has found his way back with a partnership with Vault Comics to release 5 brand new titles over the next few years, and this is the first one that he is releasing, Nectar. We have an amazing time just talking about the artwork of this book, talking about the themes and the idea of getting into horror comics and not just dealing with the big two, these ideas that you can read any type of comic book that you want, and I was so thankful to sit down with him, and I really hope you guys enjoy this interview. Take a look. So, normally I start with the origin, but for you, I have a specific question. Do you sleep?
No.
Because, like, genuinely, almost 100 books. You have multiple comic series you're producing. I want to understand, like, what goes into your, like, thought process where you're constantly just imagining new stories.
Yeah, it's kind of a problem. Definitely don't sleep a lot at night because I'm thinking, and I wake up early in the morning and start thinking. And then it's almost like I have to write to get it out of my head so I can sleep a little bit. So it's almost like a curse where if I am not writing, I'm struggling.
Okay, interesting. That's a great problem to have because, like, you're constantly putting out great work in that aspect.
Yeah.
Like, from there, it spins into the origin. I always try to, like, get people's perspective of what was the first comic book that made them believe in the medium, believe in the idea of it as a storytelling platform.
Yeah, that's tough. We're going back in time for that.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Wow. You know, I'm going to say McFarlane's Spider-Man #1 because I picked that up at a mall kiosk. And for me, as an artist, that was kind of a transformative moment for me when I saw that cover back then, and that was something new. So yeah, I think that issue definitely set my brain spinning.
Almost definitely, because, like, it was definitely like a transformative, like, time for Spider-Man as a character, because, like, he was doing different kinds of movements, different things people hadn't seen before.
Exactly.
So as an artist, that had to be very interesting for you.
Yeah. Also, X-Men #1 with Jim Lee. I had all the 4 covers. I still have them, but yeah.
Wow, that's a gold mine right there.
I still have all my comics from the 90s.
Okay, so, like, you were inspired by the people who ended up breaking off and creating Image in that aspect. So, like,
yeah,
that's a whole, like, thing for you.
Yeah, and I would say that the creation of Image has inspired, not entirely, but my whole career has been kind of taking things, under my own control and launching my own publisher, and now launching my own comic book studio, I guess. And kind of just like going all in like those guys did.
Most definitely, yeah. Yeah,
so it's kind of like when you're a writer, most people that you talk to along the way, when you say, "Oh, I'm going to do it myself," they're like, "Well, that doesn't count. That's not published." And so, to see those guys do it and no one kind of questioned the legitimacy of their comics.
Right.
But people in a novel, everyone questions the legitimacy of a self-published novel.
Why is that, do you think?
I'm not entirely sure. I think people really believe in the publishing industry gatekeepers as like a quality assurance measure kind of a thing, where it doesn't always work that way. Great novels are passed on by the publishing industry all the time.
That's very fair. I'm say, yeah, like, there's, like, granted, we're in an age where, like, Amazon, anybody can be published in 5 minutes, but that doesn't mean you have, like, a print deal. It doesn't mean that you've had testing for those books and proven that you are successful in that aspect. Because, like, I knew someone for a while who just, like, published a couple books and was like, hey, I'm published. It's like, but like, is it good is the question.
Yes, and my goal has always been to publish books that are as good as the big publishers or better. That includes the cover, the editing, everything. And for the most part, my books are completely indistinguishable from those by the big publishers.
That's very fair to say. I must say, like your covers are always striking. Your premises are very intriguing. Like you've definitely like expanded my Audible catalog very much in the past few weeks. Like I'm already like in the first chapter of Project Nemesis because I'm like, this is insane. But it's like, and I'm very much like intrigued. What made you want to do it on your own from jump? Like you, like just from the video you had put on like on socials recently, where you're like, I wanted to do it myself, do it my like studio from jump. What made you do it that way rather than looking for a larger publisher?
I'm not especially fond of slush piles, and I definitely did not want to get rejection. I know how the story goes. I know how hard it is for writers to do that. And I kind of wanted to bypass that whole thing. I had already had confirmation that my first book was good from famous writers at the time who actually read it and said, this is great. But they didn't know who would publish it either. So I decided to do it on my own.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And like you definitely have proven and are like a litmus test for a lot of individuals that you can do it, but like and show that like you can be inspired to do great things in that aspect. So between you never sleeping, you're constantly like striving for better than what the industry like says you're capable of. What made you finally go into comic books? Because that's a whole different form of storytelling where like even with your novels, you kind of have a like more difficult battle where you have to be the artist and the writer in one because you're trying to describe the different things on the page. Here you're able to partner with somebody and create a whole different form of the medium when it comes to storytelling.
Right. My background is in art. I went to college for art. I wanted to be a comic book artist, and I had my first comic book was published in like, what was it, 98, something like that. It was a small black and white. We're actually the third comic that we're publishing with Vault is called 1001 Saves the World, and that is the comic that I was working on in college. First published as like an 8-page mini, and now we've fleshed it out and done the whole thing.
So you're back to basics in that aspect there.
Yeah, so it's something that I've always wanted to do. I did start to do the slush pile submissions as an artist. Did not enjoy that process at all. And then at some point had the realization that all of my art was actually storytelling. I'm not the kind of writer that is in love with writing. I'm in love with telling stories. And whether it's through art or words, I don't care. Film, all of those are equally important to me. So novels is what took off first. Probably because I could do it all by myself, where I know looking back, I was not a good enough artist to get the job done on a full comic book. I can do covers, things like that I can really work on for a long time, but like page art, I can't do that.
That makes a lot of sense. I was like, is there any plans for like any of these issues of Nectar to where you're going to have your own cover?
There is one. Yeah, I have a cover for each of the comic books that we're putting out.
Nice.
I don't know how I can show it to you, but it's kind of a black and white cover with a butterfly on a.
Oh, is that the foil cover for the number one?
Yeah.
That was like the one that I was very like drawn to because it felt as if you're creating like fear with the neon orange, this idea that normalcy in the night is a thing. But even from the trailer that you published where like dude opens the coffin, it's just like, oh, this is gonna be nutty.
Yeah, it's nutty. And I love that about comic books is that my novels are all, I would call them comic books as novels. There are characters that are like superheroes, things like that, but I have totally lost my train of thought now.
Hey, like we're both like out here like on the spectrum. I totally get it. It definitely be like that.
Yeah.
but like from there, like what I definitely like, since you definitely have background in knowing about Image and whatnot,
Yeah.
or just when it comes to going towards comic books and from that aspect, what made you partner with Vault? And like, because Vault has written some of my favorite stories over the past like decade when it comes to Wasted Space or Hollow Heart or like Barbaric. They've written crazy level stories, but what made you not try to like prop up your own tent, or even pursue a different publisher, or like be an imprint under Image or something like that? What drew you
Right.
to be under like will partner with Vault in that aspect?
So when I first started doing all these, I had zero plan on how to get them published. I just knew that we would try. And if we couldn't find someone to do it with, then we would go like the Kickstarter route, something like that. So we went all in on making these first 5 comic books. And then I started thinking about who would be a potential partner, someone like Image. So I went down to my local comic book store and we're just chatting with the guys there, asking them their opinions of different publishers. And all of them just had glowing things to say about Vault. I was like, all right, these guys are now at the top of my list. And I happened to see on Facebook an author friend of mine announce that he had a deal with Vault. So I said, hey, how are these guys to work with? And he was like, they're great. Let me put you in touch. And so,
Convenient.
yeah. And so I got in touch with them and I sent them everything and they loved it. And then we kind of just went from there.
That makes it pretty like easy in that aspect. I must say, like, they definitely are for the outlandish when it comes to crazy ideas. Like angelic, like semi truck comes to mind.
Oh, yeah.
I would definitely say. And then like when it comes to you, you're starting off with just, you know what, butterflies and blood. Let's go straight like balls to the wall when it comes to the concepts.
Yeah.
When it comes to this though, what spawned this idea? Was it just like late night can't sleep, or did you see something in nature that like made this happen? Were you always afraid of butterflies? Like, what was the thing that made you go for this one?
Yeah. This one is actually different than a lot of them, where I just I knew I wanted to do one more comic book. I knew I wanted it to be kind of a Victorian horror monster story that was not a vampire, that was not a werewolf. I wanted to come up with something new that could rival those things and could potentially, maybe when I'm dead, be one of the classic monsters of the Victorian era. So I presented this idea to my wife and we just kind of spitballed back and forth for like 20 minutes. And by the end of it, we had butterflies, drinking blood, the dancing plague. And I was like, all right, I got to go put this into a story. So I ran up to my office, wrote it all down, sent it to my editor. He was like, this is great. And so then I just started writing the script.
Okay. Like that's kind of cool that you can rely on your wife to like bounce off ideas like that, especially with like you having so many books. Like she must be an ultimate partner for you in that aspect.
Yeah. I mean, I don't do that to her all the time. But yeah, I knew this one, I needed some of her creative input. She has a sinister imagination as well. That one of my books, Torment, it's widely regarded as like the most disgusting book of mine. And there's one character in there that is the most disgusting character in the book. That's my wife. That's what she came up with.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. It's like I feel as if you're gonna be really comfy in comics, like especially if you do more than just these 5, because like I can't stop looking at the Man House cover. Like I had to, like the minute like I saw this book, that was like immediate pull list, and my shop was already fans of Vault from things like Big Rig, so they immediately were like, all right, cool, incentive cover, yeah, we'll knock that out easy, because like that's a hard thing too for a lot of comic shops is incentive covers.
Right.
And it was just like I like genuinely, this cover is so menacing and it makes me intrigued of like what you have planned for this series.
Yeah. I love all the covers. Every time that a new one came in, I was just like, are you serious? This is insane. Yeah. I was especially excited about the Wayshak cover. Wayshak is he's someone that I've admired for a couple of years now and just been following him. And every time I see one of his pictures come up on my feed, I'm like, damn, I got to work with this guy somehow. And then, surprise, surprise, he did a cover for Nectar, and he's done a cover for issue 2 as well.
Oh snap!
I was so happy. I still need to figure out a way to do an entire comic with him, though.
I mean, hey, you got time, and like I feel like the chatter online about this already is opening doors for you to do more down the road. But it's like when it comes to an elevator pitch, like beyond just the Victorian aspect, like what can you tell people to make this be a pull list grab? Like, not even just, oh, it's a cool cover. Like, what can you give people to expect from this? Because you already got me hooked. Like just the cover had me like, all right, cool, yeah, we're gonna do this. But like for the casual fan that is so used to the Batmans and the Supermans that I've been trying to pull into the indie scene by their teeth, it's like, come over here, enjoy this. Like, what can you like tell them to get them interested in this idea?
Oh, that's a tough question. I don't know that I've thought about it past the elevator pitch. Um, yeah, I mean it's a little bit of a slow burn at first, just to introduce the characters, the setting, kind of ease your way into butterflies, and then it just goes off the rails, insane. And by the last book, it's just what the hell happened here? Like, how did we get this far? Um, yeah, visually, it's way surpasses what I expected it to be.
Okay.
The way that the art and the colors all came together is really eye catching, and it's especially different for at least from what I've seen in terms of gore. The style of that stuff is a bit different than what I've seen in other comic books. And it is, if you're a person who likes gore in comic books, which sometimes I am, um, it definitely checks that box. It's also got great characters. The dialogue is very period and funny. There's one line that I really like. I have it over here somewhere. There's a there's a character who has just shot another character who was dancing, and he says, "Anyone else feel the sudden urge to step a lively measure?"
Okay. See, like I love that era that speak of it. So like, because I was even reading Red Coat by Jeff Johns recently, and the idea of just like being comfortable in that old style speak and being able to like bend it around the narrative you want to tell it, because it feels as if that's such a foregone era for so many individuals. And it's like you have to, like, how much research do you put into visiting that kind of time period?
Yeah, well, the setting itself is Misery Island off of Salem, Massachusetts. I grew up in Beverly, Massachusetts, which is just like right across the river. Um,
Okay.
and so I spent a lot of time on Misery Island as a kid. So in terms of the location, it was all inspired by, the stories that I heard about Misery Island. There's ruins on the island. I know that there was a big fire on the island. So I kind of pulled all these things. It was a leper colony for a while.
Oh wow.
Yeah, crazy history on this island. So I kind of pulled in all my love for that island into the story. And I know that that is not exactly what the question was.
No, I know, but for sure though, like it shows that you have done your research. You know enough about it to where you know. So, like, it definitely kind of does answer the question. It's like it's giving like scary places, like the scariest places on Earth that like Linda Blair did a few years ago, where it's like that makes me intrigued and wants me to learn more about that.
Yeah, the history of that island is super cool. There was a casino that burned down. There's a shipwreck off the coast. And so it's just everything about that place is cool. So I knew I wanted to do it there. And for the dialogue, I kind of wrote the dialogue as I normally would, and then would be like, all right, how would they have said this? And then try and figure that out and change it.
So, like, is there a hope that I could get like a shipwreck full of butterflies? Like, can I get that as like a variant cover, just like a shipwreck full of butterflies?
You're right. It's possible. Hopefully, we'll be able to do more of these.
That would be so awesome. Especially like get like a second print. Like that would be such a cool idea. Especially like if it like the boat's like cracked open like Titanic style, and you just see them like just like shooting out like a mushroom cloud. Like that would be insane.
Yeah, there's so many possibilities for this new universe.
Right. Like especially because like you kind of have an opportunity where this could go on like even to the modern age. Like, has there like been any thought to like seeing if maybe like one egg just kind of exists in a forest for like a long period of time?
Yeah, so we have like the whole mythology figured out. The origin is all done, and I think if we do a second book, I would like to do the origin story, which is
Okay.
it's like I don't know 500, 600 years ago in like Aztec Empire kind of a thing, which
That
is
would be
which is
awesome.
where it comes from. There was a butterfly goddess involved, so
That sounds gorgeous just
yeah,
based off the premise. I could see that
butterfly
being on a
goddess
cover.
and a sacrificed girl is the big.
Oh. I'm just over here like I want to read it like right now. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So like you have 5 books like lined up. Like
Yep.
you talked about the one, but like is this gonna be like a per month that you're gonna drop these like bang bang, or are you gonna like let 5 issues, 6 issues drop of one and then get to the next one? I know like one's coming out in May, but like what's the thought process with this?
The release schedule for the first 2 books is bananas. So Nectar is March, early March, and the second book is early May. And then they're each 4 book miniseries. So they'll be staggered out and then followed up by trades. Um, and then there'll be kind of a break because we're going to push them in October because they're both horror. So that's kind of like our whole life cycle of promotions and all that would be from March to October. And then a couple months off, and then next winter is 1001 Saves the World, and then a couple months after that is Grotesque.
Mm-hmm.
So we're kind of doing like 2 early in the year and push them, and then a break, and then 2. And so it seems like Nectar is going to go well enough that I can justify starting the 6th book.
Okay.
But I'm not sure yet if I should do something new, if I should try and continue Nectar. I'm not sure what we'll do for that 6th title.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Like you kind of have an interesting opportunity here because of the success that you've garnered compared to others who are like in the comic industry right now, where like sales don't really affect the baseline plan. Like this is at least gonna hit trade, and I would love to get your thought process or like your input on that experience. Where like in the mainstream big two and whatnot, or even with Image and Boom, there's a lot of fear that if you can't get these like single issue pre-orders in, you're not going to get anywhere or you'll get canceled to a mini series.
Right.
So like what is like what are your thoughts? Like you even mentioned the success of it could signal more. Like you're at least getting a baseline. What is your thought process on the entire system?
Well, I'm not super familiar with like what all the other publishers do. I don't know exactly what I should be afraid of.
Okay.
I don't know what number of sales would get a trade canceled. So I'm kind of like naive to all that stuff, which is kind of nice. I know that the pre-sales on Nectar were good,
Okay.
were really good. So I'm not concerned about the trade for Nectar not happening.
Okay.
Excommunicated, I expect will also do good because it's just so cool. I'm really excited for that one.
That cover looked like awesome on your website. I was very much like, ooh, see, like especially because like I went to Catholic school, so just the idea of those kind of stories, like playing into like the crazy mythology that the church made up over the years, like on top of the existence of the religion, has always intrigued me. It's been like ripe for storytelling, i.e., giant mythical semi truck. So like
Yeah.
I always love the idea of people playing in that like sandbox.
Yeah, and I take it in a slightly different direction because I have a long background of like going to church, and when I was younger, I sent to Christian schools, and so I have
Yeah.
tons of biblical knowledge and have a very different take on demons and angels, and I kind of go back to what the original translations were,
Oh.
like Satan. It's not a dude. That's a mistranslation. It's not a name. It's the Satan, and it means the adversary. Um, and so, what we consider Satan all throughout the Bible is not one solitary thing. We made it that,
Right.
but it's not. It's the adversary. It's something that doesn't have a name.
I'm so intrigued right now. Like, I love that kind of stuff because people who actually know what they're talking about and digging into that lore is so insane because it's so ripe for ideas where
Yeah,
you could take that in so many different avenues. It could be avatar, like not like avatars, but like the idea of having like an avatar of the adversary where like it inhabits different things or even has like, oh, you thought that was say, that's not what it is at all. And like
yeah.
start playing with people's expectations.
And that's how I felt when I first discovered. I started looking into um, like literal translations rather than ones translations upon translations that have been kind of like shaped based on whatever culture translated it. So just going back to the original and getting rid of all of the modern changes that have been made. I was when I read it, I was like, "Holy crap! This is very different than what we're taught."
Right. Like you just it's so crazy that you're walking in here and just dropping in like fresh new perspectives where it's like so many individuals when it comes to comics right now just think like, oh, absolute Batman's all they need to worry about, like, oh, Spider-Man's best thing on the market, that's all they need to worry about. It's like, no, you're giving people fresh ideas. And that's what people like you
Yeah,
even saw with last year with how sales were looking or like the top rated books from last year. A lot of them were coming from non-Marvel and DC.
right.
What can you like? What is that perspective like for you of telling like you don't even want to touch a superhero? You don't even want to go in that direction. It's like no, we're going to crazy ass storytelling
Yeah,
off rip.
yeah. Well, I feel like in some ways I have to do that for me because I'm ADHD, and so to like hold my attention, stories get progressively more insane. Like by the time you get to my novel, it's just bananas. And a lot of people like that. Some people don't. Um, but yeah, I don't even read a lot of superhero comic books these days. All of these are indies. There might
I'm
be a
saying, yeah, like, I love the Godzilla over there. Like IDW's been killing it with Godzilla stuff lately.
yeah, yeah. So mostly I'm reading indies these days. A lot of horror, which I definitely increased as I was starting to get into like the horror comic book space. I wanted to know what everyone was doing, but I'm definitely drawn to indies more than the big comic companies.
I very much love that because like it feels as if it's like pulling people by the ankles, going, no, you don't have to play over there anymore. You can come over here and try these different perspectives on
Yeah,
things
and
because like it's a whole different world for them.
yeah, newness
It's
is
just
great.
I'm sorry.
Newness is great.
For sure, yeah, most definitely, because like it definitely gives you new ideas, and also just like there's this perception when it comes to and like I would love your thoughts on this. The idea of like comics aren't taken seriously as true literature,
Mhm.
and like there was even a big controversy recently where like the head of DC was asked the comparison of manga versus comic books and why manga is doing better for some individuals, and one thing that he even said was that like manga is seen as a true form of literature where comics still fight that stigma.
Yeah, I think that's probably because when kids tell their grandparents, "Oh, I'm reading manga," they have no idea what they're talking about. If they say I'm reading comic books, then they have this very, I can't even think of the word. It's just like in their brain, like this is what a comic book is
Like a perception of it.
for kids. Yeah, the perception is for kids. Um, so yeah, it's weird.
I'm gonna say yeah, because like you have a very unique perspective where like you started in comics, then you went into novels, and now you're back into comics. Like you have an opportunity to kind of show people that this is literature. This is like a worth people's time in that aspect. And
Right.
like I there was even a point where graphic novels could even be seen as winning literary awards. And
Yeah.
I wonder if this is a golden opportunity to elevate the medium.
Yeah, I think the distinction I would make is um, it's about storytelling. Like if you boil a novel down to its core, it's storytelling. It's not just words. You're creating images in people's minds with the words. So that imagery, that the movie in your head that people see when they read a novel, they're still seeing the pictures. Comic books just help them see the pictures. It's
Right.
still storytelling. It's all storytelling.
Okay. Okay. So the thing that we always wrap up with when it comes like to the show is a final statement, a closing statement. And it's like, what do you want to leave people with when it comes to the rest of the year? But also like just like what do you want to tell comic fans? Because you've been trying to be more open with talking to people on the internet more, trying to give them a perspective about what you're producing. But what do you want to tell fans that might be a little shy of the idea of picking up an indie title?
Um, that's a good question. I mean, if you're interested in original stories that aren't, I don't want to insult anyone, that aren't like a rehash of something that we've seen a dozen times over, 40, 50 years of comic books, um, then pick up an indie because we get to do whatever we want. And that allows for so much more creativity than a superhero who has a whole world already existing, and you have to stick to the rules. You have to get the character exactly the same. It's all predetermined for you. There's no room for true creativity.
Okay. That's a great way. That's like the title of the episode right there. There's no room for true creativity because it's like you're like, or rather, room for creativity because you are able to move in your own way in that aspect.
Right. I probably just blew any chance of DC or Marvel ever being interested in me.
I wouldn't say that because like there's been plenty of great indie writers that like Jason Aaron is a great example where he was swinging with God Country and stuff and then
Yeah.
went into the big two. So like, no, I would never count yourself out because you never know what's going to happen. It's like I can even see just from your work, like you on Swamp Thing would be next level insanity.
I love Swamp Thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would do Swamp Thing.
All right, cool. Well, then one day we'll have to hope for that, and we'll have to have you back for when that happens. But like, or just even later on with like as these books come out, because Excommunicated has me very interested.
That's going to be great. I'm so excited for that. It's so fun.
All right, cool. Well, it's like then I thank you so much for coming on the show because
Thanks
like
for having me.
the whole idea is trying to give people the truth and the perspective from the writers and the creators because you guys are the ones giving people like you said the fresh perspective on things.
Right. Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thanks.